Hey friends! My name is Desiree, aka Mama Friendly, and I do all sorts of videos on my channel, from cooking videos to planner videos, vlogs, hauls, homeschool videos with a Disney twist, a little bit of everything. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I hope you'll subscribe and join me on my YouTube adventure. Today's video is the monthly food collab hosted by Christie's Farmhouse and I'm Merely Melissa. I'm going to have both their channels linked down below in the description box and also a link to the playlist so that once you finished watching my video, you can see what all my friends made as well. The theme for this month is Halloween desserts. Very exciting stuff. I love a theme, as you might know. And speaking of things I love, I also really love taking Disney park recipes, turning them on their head a little bit and making them allergy friendly. So I decided to use this video to do both of these things, and I am going to show you my allergy friendly spin on a dessert that you can only find at Disney World's Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. That's a mouthful. Now, if you don't know, if you're not a huge Disney fan like I am, every year Disneyland has Oogie Boogie Bash and Disney World has a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at the Magic Kingdom. I say a party, but honestly they do them pretty much twice a week from August through Halloween. So you have plenty of opportunities to check it out for yourself. You can go in costume to the parks, which you never get to do otherwise. There's all sorts of meet and greets with characters that you never really see unless you're going to one of these parties. They're usually in costume too, which is super, super cute. Sometimes the rides have different Halloween themed overlays, so music, decorations, lighting that you don't see in a typical day at the park. But a really big draw to these parties is all the foods, drinks, and treats that you can get there and you can't get them anywhere else. So the recipe that I'm choosing to recreate today is something called zombie fingers, which you can get at Cosmic Rays in Tomorrowland during the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. The original dish looks like this, and it's described as almond cookie fingers, key lime pie white chocolate ganache, salted caramel crisp pearls, and sugar eyes. This will run you $6.49 and apparently tastes exactly like key lime pie. Now, since I eat gluten and dairy free and everything I make I try to strive for allergy friendliness, I decided that I was going to make my own version of this using paleo coconut based ladyfinger type cookies, and rather than making a white chocolate ganache, I'm actually going to take a vegan vanilla pudding and just zhuzh it up with some food coloring and some lime zest, and it turned out pretty out of this world. So what are we waiting for, guys? Let's get spooky. Alright friends, I'm going to begin with the pudding component of the recipe because this is going to require time to set. So I want to start with this, then make the cookies, then bring everything together when everything's ready to go. So I'm going to be using a vegan pudding mix. I have used this before, both to make pudding and actually to bake with. I'm going to have this particular product linked down below. However, if you cannot find this, or you would rather make the pudding yourself from scratch using avocados, I am also going to link in the description box an alternate recipe so that you can make your own vegan pudding. Since I am using this though, the package calls for 2 cups of any non-dairy milk. So I'm going to be using my handy dandy original nut pods. You could use any vegan milk you'd like. However, keep in mind, the pudding itself says that if you're using rice milk, it apparently has to be boiled first, otherwise the pudding won't set. So that's interesting. There's some science for you. Because this is meant to be key lime pudding, once the pudding itself is set, I could probably do this before, but I don't want to add anything into the equation that might keep this from setting. So once it is set, I'm going to juice not a whole lot, maybe like half of one of these limes and stir it in, but I am going to zest all these limes to mix it in as well. And then this bit is completely optional, but since I want it to look like the one at the Disney park, I did get some food coloring. So I am going to be waiting once again until it is set because I don't want the extra liquid in this to mess anything up. But I'm going to be adding some green. I don't know if green is in here or if I have to make it myself, but I will be adding some green coloring at the end so that it looks exactly like the one at the park. So I'm going to get this going. I'm going to put it in the fridge so that it can start its setting process, and then I'm going to bake my cookies. Alrighty, my pals, I'm moving on to my cookies now. I have my oven preheating at 400 degrees, and I have my cookie sheet lined with parchment paper for easy cleanup and to try to minimize sticking. For our recipe, we're going to need 4 eggs, but we're going to separate them because we need the 4 yolks in one bowl and we need the 4 egg whites in another bowl. I'm going to be using a hand mixer for my egg whites. You can use a stand mixer, or if you're really brave and have a lot of time and arm strength, you could just go analog style and use your arm and a whisk. We also need a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, the real stuff, please, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/3 cup of coconut flour, sifted. Very important because this tends to get clumpy. Optionally, you can add in a teaspoon of coffee freshly ground for some flavor, but because I'm using these cookies in a key lime application later, I don't want coffee flavor to maybe potentially clash with the lime, so I'm just going to use the vanilla and leave it at that. So as I mentioned, I'm going to separate my eggs. I'm going to put the whites into one bowl and I'm going to beat them until they are stiff. In another bowl, I'm going to combine the egg yolks with my baking soda, vanilla extract, and maple syrup, and I'm just going to whisk that until it's combined. I'm going to sift in my coconut flour and continue to whisk until that's all smooth. And lastly, I'll be folding in the egg whites into everything else. The instructions say to pipe out 3-inch long cookies with a round piping tube onto your parchment-lined baking sheet. But we're not that fancy around here, so I'm going to be using a Ziploc that I'm going to cut the corner off of. Once our cookies are shaped, we're going to bake at 400 degrees for 13 minutes or until they are golden brown. We will allow them to cool completely before enjoying, which is just fine because we have to wait for our pudding to set anyways. And before we jump into it, I do want to remind you, anytime you're using coconut flour, you do want to wait a little bit once the coconut flour is incorporated into the rest of your ingredients before you move on and start piping, start cooking, etc. Because coconut flour, the texture of the final product, relies heavily on allowing it to absorb liquid from its surroundings before you force heat on it. So the difference between a tender cookie that remains intact and a crumbly mess is you giving this 5 minutes after you've mixed it all in, before you start messing with it, putting it in the bag, piping it out, etc. It doesn't seem like a lot, and I really wish that recipes would include that information more often, but it's so important to know because it really makes a huge difference. Alright, let's get cracking, and by that I mean the eggs. This took about 10 minutes, and while it's not stiff peaks, I worry if I keep beating it, I'm going to completely undo it. Like, I'm going to break the egg whites. So that's going to have to be that. I'm not going to go any further because I worry I'm going to just make things worse at this point. Keep in mind that the time that you are beating is also very much determined by the temperature of your egg whites, the speed of your mixer, etc., etc. So it might take you longer, it might take you less long. It took me about 10 minutes. On with the rest of the show. Alright, I've given this 5 minutes to become whatever it is that it wants to become, which apparently now is a sticky mess, but it just goes to show that the coconut flour has definitely absorbed everything it wants to absorb. So we're going to, yep, our egg whites were starting to break just as I suspected, so I took them past the point of stiff peaks and I just kept mixing, so that's what happened there. But I think we're still going to get the same lift that we wanted to achieve anyway, because I stopped when I did. So I'm just grabbing a little bit and mixing it in here just willy-nilly so that I can loosen up the dough in here some, make it easier to mix generally. And now for the rest of this, I'm gonna just gently grab some and fold it in, because these egg whites are here, like I said, to give lift to the whole thing. So if we whisk too violently, we will deflate our egg whites, and so we defeat the purpose of going through that whole mission of stiffening them up in the first place. See, that already looks a lot poofier and floofier. I'm going to take my last bit now and do the same. Just gently fold them in. I'm basically, as gently as possible, trying to make it so that I don't see egg white anymore, because I don't want to risk it like cooking up and feeling / tasting like just solid egg white. But you see that? That's a very soft, airy consistency. Kind of makes me wonder how I'm meant to pipe this now, because it's so soft. I don't know if it's going to hold its form, but we're definitely going to try. Alright, got my bag. I've got the corner cut out of it. Now I'm going to make my little cookie shapes. That looks good to me. Let's see how many like that we can get out of this. That's looking very nice, actually. I thought I was going to have a much harder time piping these out, but they're kind of perfect, if I'm honest. Make a second row right here. Looks like I'm going to get at least 10 cookies out of this, which is wonderful. Now, after I've piped these, I'm going to give them just another little, maybe 5-minute rest. And let that coconut flour keep doing its thing. I don't know how much these are going to spread either, so I don't want to put too many on the sheet at once. The last two are a little janky, and I could probably get another cookie out of this, but like I said, I don't want to overstuff the pan and have the cookies all run into each other and make a mess. So I'm going to let them rest for that 5 minutes, and then I'm going to put them into my 400-degree oven for 13 minutes or until they're golden brown. And then I'm just going to let them cool and rest until our pudding is set and we can start decorating and assembling. Alright, our cookies are completely cool. They're perfect, actually. I tasted one already and it's really yummy. So I didn't put green food coloring on mine. You definitely could. But I was worried, since I've never made these before, that they might not turn out right if I added extra stuff. So now what I'm going to do instead is that I have this writing gel, and I'm going to decorate my cookies as if they were very creepy witch's fingers. So I'm making a little fingernail and then the creases of the fingers there. You could have also put an almond, a little sliver of almond here at the top, which is what they do at the park before you baked it. But again, I had never used this recipe before, and so I wanted to stick to the original recipe as much as I could, just in case it didn't turn out. But I think that looks like a pretty creepy witch's finger right there. So now that our cookies are done, I'm going to take out our pudding and we're going to zest it up and make it all limey. Okay, we've got our vanilla pudding here ready to go. It looks like it's set up perfectly. Oh yeah, I'm going to give it a nice little mix. Perfect. That's pudding for sure. And now I'm going to get my zester and my lime. I'm going to get it over here. Nope, has to be this side. Oh, there we go. So long strokes is the way to do it. You want to make sure that you're getting the green bit of the peel, but stop before you get to the white, because the white part, the pith, is very bitter. So it stops being a pleasant lime flavor and just becomes kind of ick. So we're doing all that. Nice and green. Let's see how green we could get it just with the zest. Probably not super green. So I am going to end up using the food dye all the same. But just out of curiosity, let's see how far we get just with the lime zest as far as color. I also want to taste it with just the lime zest before I start pouring juice in here, because the juice will definitely change the texture of the pudding. And so I feel like if we could get away without using the juice, that would be even better. So let's see, that looks like a good amount of zest right there. That should add tons of flavor already. Didn't get very far in the way of color, which is what I expected. Let's give this a taste. Very pleasant, but I think I am going to put just a touch of lime juice in there. And while we're here, oh, this does not come with green actually. It comes with yellow and blue though. And quite obviously, the back of the box states that in order to obtain a green color, we just need to mix equal parts blue and yellow. So I'm going to do 10 drops of blue and 10 drops of yellow and give it a mix. And depending on how strong the color is, whoops, then I might do a little more. That's 10 yellow and that's 10 blue. Stir, stir, stir. Whoa, that is green. My gosh. Alright, I don't think we're going to need any more coloring than that. That's perfect. And now just the teensy tiniest bit of juice. So I am probably going to do maybe like half of one lime's worth, because I want the flavor, but I don't want this to become too runny. That looks like it's going to be absolutely perfect. So I'm going to give it one more taste. That is amazing. The vanilla pudding, the sweetness of the vanilla is really nicely balanced by the sour of the lime. The color just screams Halloween. I think we're ready to plate. That's pretty spot on, and I think it's gonna taste so good. This is a great allergy-friendly way to bring Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party right into your home. Alright friends, there's my version of zombie fingers from the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. The pudding especially was so good, and the cookies ended up tasting like, oh my gosh, I haven't had them since I was a kid, but my grandma used to keep these like Italian cookies around when I was a child. I'll see if I can find a picture of them to post up here, and I was shocked at how much the flavor and texture matched these cookies. The cookies did not taste like coconut whatsoever, and together, like using the cookie almost as a dip for the pudding, incredible. So good. If you wanted to, you could put the little slivered almonds for nails like they do at the park. You could also always add dye to the cookies if you felt like it. I didn't think it was necessary, but whatever you want to do to make it all the more spookier, I would actually love to see your creations. So if you decide to make this recipe for yourself, tag me on Instagram, show me a picture, because I'm really excited to see what everybody comes up with to make this their own. As always, I want to thank you all so much for being here and watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you'll please give it a big thumbs up. I'd also love it if you would subscribe and click that notification bell, because I post at least 3 times a week and I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. See you real soon.